Yeah, especially in the Great Lakes where they've been dealing with lake effect snow. Much of the country just dealing with cold weather right now, but we are bracing for a pretty strong storm system here on the west coast. The actual storm system itself, Veronica, not extremely strong, but it has a lot of moisture to work with, which is why we do have some flood concerns. Here's a look at what's going on out there right now. That's not going to be arriving tonight, so you can expect a nice finish to your Christmas evening here on the Central Coast. We are seeing an increase in high clouds, though, ahead of this weather system. These clouds will thicken up overnight and then continue to thicken up throughout the day tomorrow as this really a parade of storm systems just kind of gets lined up and pushes into the west coast. Essentially, the storm door will be open all week long and probably all the way into the new year. Now, as far as when you could expect the worst of it, right now it looks like the first wave will be the strongest, and that is going to be arriving on Tuesday morning. Let's talk about where this fuel source comes from, because we've got a lot of moisture that's bringing all the way back across the Pacific, essentially, pointing to the west coast and then arriving here as we head into the late in the day tomorrow into Tuesday morning. Now, the actual storm system that's going to squeeze most of the moisture out of it will be more like Tuesday morning before we see some major impacts from this, with the potential for heavy rain and some gusty winds. But we may see some light rain beginning already tomorrow evening as this moisture plume is directed at us. And then as the main plume gets directed farther to the south, we will see a couple buckles here in the main plume itself, with additional rain possible later in the week. Storm systems coming out of the Gulf of Alaska will just tap into this moisture plume and continue to pound the west coast with moderate to heavy rain kind of over and over again throughout the week here, which could lead to anywhere between a half a foot to a foot of rain in our mountains by the time we get to the end of the week, which will obviously increase the chance of some flooding. But there are some other things already in effect as well. Some other alerts, high surf advisory, which goes into effect Tuesday morning, lasts through Wednesday morning. So some high surf expected with this system. Also some gusty winds. There is a wind advisory for the Santa Cruz Mountains with the potential for some downed trees, power lines, and essentially there's that power line threat or power outage threat, and that's going to be from late tomorrow night into Tuesday morning. As on the front side of this, we're going to see some gusty winds, not to mention the flooding threat. So let's talk about this first system, and we'll get you there on Futurecast. We head into the day tomorrow, just looking mostly cloudy. This is 5 a.m. starting your Monday. Maybe you're going back to work already tomorrow. No major issues on the way out the door tomorrow. Heading to the afternoon, expecting mostly cloudy skies. Model is showing some echoes kind of approaching and passing through. If we get any precipitation before sunset tomorrow, it'll be very light, mostly just some sprinkles, as we do have some dry air in the low levels of the atmosphere ahead of this. But late tomorrow night, some light rain will be possible as it moves through quickly. And then we get a more steady rain beginning about midnight or so tomorrow night. And that's going to affect mostly the coastal mountains first, but eventually work its way into the lower elevations, arriving in coastal cities and then pushing into even in our inland valleys as we head into Tuesday morning. So here we are Tuesday morning, 7 a.m., widespread precipitation really focused on the coastal mountains, and we have some gusty winds associated with the frontal boundary as well. Now, once it passes through, we'll see the winds start to die down a little bit, but we're going to continue to see the fire hose of rain really throughout the day Tuesday, and that's going to accumulate in our coastal mountains. We're talking hours and hours and hours of moderate to briefly heavy rain, which is going to bring some of those creeks up. We're going to watch some of the rivers like the Big Sur River, places like that. Our main rivers like the Salinas River is not going to be too much of an issue, but some of the smaller creeks and rivers could get pretty full by the time we get to the end of the day on Tuesday, which means if you live along those areas, you're going to be monitoring the weather, monitoring those creek levels, and prepared to head to higher ground. Not to mention our burn scars, where there will be a debris flow threat along those burn scars as well, especially later into the day, Tuesday, as all of this starts to accumulate. Things do calm down a little bit Wednesday, but as I mentioned, we're going to have several more rounds throughout the rest of the week. So just with this first system, let's talk about precipitation totals. There's just a computer model showing several inches in the coastal mountains. We could see maybe up to 7 inches in the Santa Cruz Mountains with this first system, although most cities around the bay picking up between ½ an inch and 2 inches, I suspect. But it's going to be a pretty wet system, and as I mentioned, more wet weather to come later on in the week, and of course we're going to be keeping a close eye on it for you. I'm going to quickly go through your temperatures tomorrow. We're still on the front side of this system, so they'll be pretty mild. In fact, even with the clouds, highs above normal for this time of year, and lows pretty mild overnight as well. Down to the 40s, you're back to 63 for your high in Santa Cruz tomorrow. East shore of the bay, looking at lows in the 40s, highs in the low to mid 60s tomorrow, even into our northern valleys. Over to the peninsula, lows for the most part in the mid to upper 40s. Highs in the low 60s, so still pretty comfortable. And down south, we might see a few spots dip into the 30s overnight, but generally looking at 40s with highs in the mid 60s. And let's quickly look at that 7-day forecast. Again, light rain late tomorrow, then widespread rain on Tuesday with windy conditions. Still breezy on Wednesday, although I think we're going to get a break much of Wednesday afternoon. Looks like rain will return late Wednesday night into Thursday, and then again, several more rounds of rain all the way through the weekend, which I guess is the end of this year and the beginning of next, Veronica. Already.
Where did the year go?
I know.
All right, ready to start new. Thank you, Dan.